Boy, the NFL knows how to start the season out with a bang. They're sending the Dallas Cowboys, America's favorite team, to Philadelphia. Good luck with that one. We'll talk about it today on Locked On NFL.
The barbershop is open and Tony Wiggins has a chair for you. He's ready with some real NFL talk. The local experts of Locked On bring their expertise, and Wiggy is ready with his clippers and shears. Sit down and enjoy. The new Locked On NFL starts now. Locked On Podcast Network. Your team every day.
It is your team every day here on Locked On NFL. We thank you for making us your first listen. I'm the host, Tony Wiggins, of the Locked On NFL show, where we aim to give you all of the news from around the National Football League with a different little angle, like the angle from the barbershop. I am joined, as always, on Monday by Julian Council, the esteemed host of Locked On Panthers. And we're going to break some stuff down for you today. But I'll let you know that wherever you get your podcast, make sure you tap in, whether you watch or listen. We are free to subscribe to, and we are here every single day. All right, today's show is brought to you by Monarch Money. Take control of your finances with Monarch Money. Use the code LOCKEDONNFL at monarchmoney.com for 50% off your first year. That is right. Julian Council, this is where we're going to start and end up today. Well, we're going to end up here. Does Matthew Stafford have one more year? I don't mean like one more year. That's all he's going to play is one more year. I mean one more year being Matthew Stafford. Somewhat how good that is or not. We'll discuss that in the third segment. Right smack in the middle, bad teams and their rookie quarterbacks take center stage. All we heard was Shador. I forgot he was even a fifth-round draft pick, but we're going to hear from the Browns, and Tyler Rowland was somewhere on the golf course talking real happily about what he saw or what he expected to see anyway from Tennessee Titans, and we're going to hit him up about the Titans and their quarterback situation, which isn't as confusing as the one in Cleveland. But we're going to start with the big opener, the opener for the show, as well as the opener for the year, the NFL. One thing, and you can criticize the league sometimes, but they know how to do stuff right. They sending the Dallas Cowboys up to Philadelphia on opening Thursday. And Julian, I ain't gonna lie, I got excited when I saw it because I get the chance to see one of your things come true. You said no team has won the NFC East in consecutive years in I don't know how long.
Well, this is not what I said. This is just the fact that there's never been back-to-back winner of the NFC East in the entire history of that division. And yeah, I mean, this is a banger to start off the season. Anytime, obviously, you're always going to have the Super Bowl champion up there. Last year we had Kansas City and Baltimore, and it was a Isaiah Likely like toenail away from that thing potentially going into overtime. That was an excellent game that Thursday. And now we get this big division rivalry. And I do think Dallas is going to bounce back this upcoming season because Dak will be healthy. And we'll see how things play out there with George Pickens now in their wide receiver core, the Micah Parsons situation as far as his contract, that's still ongoing. And I mean, the Dallas Cowboys is always going to kind of be like the days of our lives, always a soap opera down there in Jerry World. So we'll see how that plays out for them this season. But yeah, this is the kind of matchup that you want. Now, the NFL does frustrate me. We've known since January all the teams everyone's going to play. We just didn't know when the date would be. And that's the only thing. I was like, do we really have to wait 4 months to know when we can plan out our falls? Like, come on, NFL. I get it. Everything's got to be a big production. That's what we're doing here in Dallas, Philly, night one. I mean, that's as big as it gets to start off the season.
Well, we're going to get to Dallas in a second. We're going to listen to Lou DiBiase from Locked On Eagles because they're just focused on trying to repeat, brother. They puffed up and swole up. You know what I'm saying? We've been through this in 2017, but look, they brought back Dallas Goedert. I think it's a big deal, and so does Louis. Check this out.
I will say, although it was great to see him prioritize the long term, even after a championship win, you still have to have some sort of middle ground approach. You can't completely ignore the short term for the sake of the long term. Like, you should try to repeat as Super Bowl champions. Like, some moves you make should be about 2025. And it feels like they were, I think after the CJ Gardner-Johnson trade, I was like, and then once I heard that Goddard likely wasn't coming back, it felt like for a long time, the odds were Dallas Goedert was not, it was more likely Goddard was not going to be an Eagle than he would be in Philadelphia this coming season. The fact that they got him back is awesome because I thought they were going a little bit too far with the long-term over the short-term approach. The Eagles, without Dallas Goedert this year, that is not a better football team.
Look, Louis, God bless you. Y'all just won a championship. I know you got to find something to try to be pessimistic and worry about, but I get it because in 2017, we thought the Eagles were going to be right back doing the same things, and they weren't. Even though they were pretty decent, they weren't that good. I think getting Goddard back is important, but make no mistake, if they didn't, that wouldn't have been Jerry Krause saying after 6 straight championships, oh, we got to break it up. That's not what this is. The NFL is different from the NBA.
Yeah, it certainly is. And you can still build this thing, and you have the longevity of like a guy sticking around for a while, like Jalen Hurts, their quarterback. So as long as he's there, I mean, they're going to be contenders in the division. I don't look at Philadelphia necessarily as a favorite to repeat coming up this season. Like, I would still lean on Kansas City being back in the Super Bowl before I would say Philadelphia, because they have Mahomes, and we have seen it constantly. That's the thing that just is not coming off the tracks anytime soon, it seems like, just based off the level that he's been able to play at since he entered the league. So I do think Philly is going to be a team that's going to be in the playoffs again this year. But again, with the NFC East, you're probably not going to win a division. So you're not going to be playing at home throughout like you did last year. So that will obviously have an impact on their ability to get to the Super Bowl, but it's not going to be like a super down year. Like what we saw a couple of years ago when they got off to like a 10-0 start and it completely like floundered at the end of the season.
Mm-hmm.
Like that to me feels like a down year in Philadelphia. And it's just so crazy because before last season began, there was that ESPN article from Seth Wickersham about the relationship that Jalen Hurts and that Nick Sirianni had and whether that could last. And if Sirianni could keep his job, and now he's a Super Bowl winning head coach, Hurts is a Super Bowl MVP, and we're talking about repeating here in 2025. So I think all is good in Philadelphia.
All is good in Philadelphia. They got a couple of teams in Washington and the Rams that are right present in the moment and they're gonna push them, and we're gonna talk about them in segment 3. But first, we're gonna start with the team that they open with, and that is the Dallas Cowboys. All talk is on the wide receiver core and how they're gonna prioritize who gets the ball first. Normally you'd go, well, that's automatically CeeDee, but we are dealing with George Pickens here, so there could be a little bit of something. I think Pickens might surprise people, but listen to the boys from Locked On Cowboys discuss it.
Let's talk about Pickens, because he's not a high volume receiver. He's actually at his best when he's getting like 4 to 5 to 6 targets a game because of the way he's used, right? Yeah. Think like Michael Gallup. He's this high receiver where you're throwing him the ball down the field and letting him make plays. So I don't see a scenario in which he gets like 120 targets unless he gets hurt.
And I don't know if he's parroting somebody else's talking point that he just heard right off screen right before the press conference, but it was good to hear him acknowledge that there were issues in the past and that he didn't feel like they were personality-based and that he was wanting to come in here and work.
I do think it's important that the Cowboys establish a hierarchy because, and I'm going to say this, if Pickens thinks that he is the wide receiver 1B to CeeDee Lamb's 1A, I think some problems could come up. If he knows he is the clear-cut number 2 in this offense, I think things can go very, very well.
There are some examples. Look at Julian. You're right. Go ahead, man. I ain't gonna even say nothing. Go ahead. Go. What you got?
Oh, he's at his best if he's getting 5 to 6 targets. I feel like you're gonna have a problem if that's what's gonna be his target share in Dallas this year. And I have been like pretty steadfast on when Mike Tomlin's done with you, you're probably done in this league. Antonio Brown, Chase Claypool, Deontay Johnson did not work out once they left Pittsburgh. And now Johnson still got another opportunity. I don't know where Claypool's at. Is he still playing right now in the league somewhere?
I have no clue.
Whatever, irrelevant at this point in time. God bless him and his family, of course. But Pickens, I don't necessarily look at that as the same situation when you trade for DK Metcalf and you give him $30 million per year. I'm sure George Pickens is saying, where's my bread? And I don't know if that was going to be a tenable situation in Pittsburgh. I don't know if it was more so like Mike didn't want to coach him anymore, or if they just want to give him a new spot to go to. And Dallas has always been willing as an organization to take on any and all personalities for that quest to not get to the Super Bowl, which has been going on for a couple of decades now. I'm interested to see how it plays out because he's going to have to know his role, but 5 targets, come on, man. You know how these receivers are. Most of these dudes would rather get 100 receptions, have 1,500 yards, and go 0-17, and then go out there and be 17-0 and get the ball twice a game. Like, that's just, we'll see.
Yeah. So I agree with you because I don't trust Pickens. And a lot of reasons why I don't trust Pickens because of the Tomlin effect, like you just said. It's like once he dangle you out there, man, I don't know about it, right? Here's the thing. They might be correct, though, if he gets 4 catches a game. And that's 68 catches for 890 yards or 900 yards and 7 or 8 touchdowns. What's the thing about tides rising the boat or whatever? If they win, if they're 12-5, and they're pushing towards the playoffs, and he is their T. Higgins, which means he knows he's going to get paid for being their T. Higgins, that's fine. If he's their TJ Houshmandzadeh, and they're making a playoff run, you remember when Carson Palmer got hurt and they had Houshmandzadeh and Ocho. If he's Jordy Nelson or Donald Driver, and Greg Jennings is the other dude who is CeeDee Lamb, and they're pushing into the playoffs, no problem. Here's where it gets dicey. If we ain't winning and I'm not catching and it looks like I'm not getting my money, now you're going to have to deal with Mr. Pickens. And this is where Dallas, to me, has been a little bit inconsistent all across the board. One year they look like world beaters. The next year they kind of look like world beaters. And then they get in the playoffs and they get blown out. It's stuff like that. That is where George Pickens is going to be fine as long as everything's fine. I want to see him when things are not good. Not good like the Titans and the Browns right now. That is not necessarily good. We're going to talk about them and the fact that their young quarterbacks dominated the entire weekend. Not just their own teams, but that's all everybody was talking about. And 2 of those dudes didn't even get picked on day 1. We'll discuss that in just a second here on Locked On NFL. All right, today's show is brought to you and sponsored by Monarch Money. Ever check your bank account and wonder where did all my money go? I did. Between dining out, online, shopping, and entertainment, it's easy to lose track. That's where Monarch Money comes in. Your personal CFO giving you full visibility and control over your finances. Monarch Money isn't just a budgeting app, it's a complete financial command center. You can track all your accounts, investments, and spending in one place so you stop managing your money and start building wealth. All in one convenience is where it's at with me, man. Instead of juggling multiple apps, you can use Monarch to check your finances, track spending, and even plan long-term goals. Take control of your finances with Monarch Money and use the code LOCKEDONNFL at monarchmoney.com for 50% off your first year. That's Monarch Money, code LOCKEDONNFL to half off your first year. All right, pushing along here, segment 2 with Julian counsels. Bad teams, rookie quarterbacks. Usually that's the way it goes. When you're a bad team, you end up with a high-profile rookie quarterback, although Cleveland didn't get they did get a high-profile quarterback, even though they didn't draft a quarterback with a high pick. Those are 2 different things. Cam Ward was drafted number 1. Tyler Rowland's giddy. He's going to tell you just how giddy he is or was before minicamp, and then I'll tell you how it actually went.
Tennessee Titans fans, it's a beautiful day. Tennessee Titans rookie minicamp kicks off, and my expectations for Cam Ward are to come out there and look like the number 1 overall pick. More important than anything, I just want to see him be a leader to his teammates, know his role, know what he's supposed to do. And I mean, I guess after the Treylon Burks fiasco a couple of years ago, make sure he doesn't leave early due to conditioning issues. But overall, look, it's rookie minicamp. The expectations cannot be too high. But overall, I just want to see Cam Ward look like the leader that we expect him to be and develop that chemistry with his teammates and look like the guy that can lead a franchise forward. Now, I'm also looking at the 4 rookie pass catchers. Gunnar Helm at tight end, and then you have Chim DK at wide receiver, Alec Iomanner at wide receiver, and Xavier Restrepo, the undrafted free agent. I want to see which of those guys has the most chemistry with Cam Ward. A lot of rookies to pay attention to on defense, undrafted free agents. I'm going to break it all down and recap it all on Locked On Titans tomorrow night. Rookie minicamp, baby. Tighten up.
My man said, tighten up. You can't help but love it, don't you? Don't you love it, man?
Rookie minicamp, baby. Yeah.
Tighten up. That's my dog, man. That's the madman. You know, you can find him on Locked On NFL AM every single day. I can tell him right now the wide receiver is going to have the best chemistry is Restrepo. Xavier Restrepo was his teammate at Miami. But I will tell you this. Looking at minicamp, I saw the videos that I did see, seriously, I saw a lot of veterans. I saw a lot of veterans coming up and giving that handshake. That handshake wasn't like, hey, good luck, rookie. That handshake is like, all right, it's your thing, boss. Let's see what you got. And I think Cam's personality is built for it. I'm just trying to see if Callahan, the coach, can extract all of that stuff out of him and put it together with so many young targets.
Yeah, I go back to like last year when he transferred to Miami, that apparently is instantly when he got in here into that room, just like his work ethic and leadership was one of the big catalysts to turn that thing around this past season for the Canes. So I'm not surprised at all that instantly he's gotten to Nashville and some of the vets are looking at him and saying, all right, we got a guy who we think we can follow, and they have really no choice because he's going to be their starting quarterback and they need him to perform at a good level in order for this to not be a team that's right back here next year picking number 1 overall, which I do think is a high possibility because I just think that roster is just terrible. But yeah, I mean, I'm excited to see what Cam Ward can do. I don't know if I'm taking anything away from whatever happened over the weekend at rookie minicamp. All that is for folks out there who don't understand is just getting these guys used to the speed of an NFL practice, getting them their key cards and their lockers and knowing it's like orientation in college. You weren't taking classes, you weren't taking exams, nothing really happened, but it obviously is an exciting part for a lot of people just knowing that, all right, this is a quarterback to put your hopes and dreams into. And the hope is that Cam Ward can be that for Tennessee for years to come. And I'm very excited to see what Restrepo can do. I mean, it's unfortunate. His 40 time is what probably cost him a draft slot. His play speed has looked a lot faster than whatever he ran. And I do think that he probably made a smart, conscious decision to sign in Tennessee with a quarterback who he already had a relationship with that could potentially help him get onto a roster. And looking at that wide receiver core, don't see why he wouldn't have a great opportunity with Cam Ward there.
I don't see it either, brother. I'm telling you, it looks like that's the best absolute place for him to go. And real quick on Cam Ward. I wanted him to go to Florida State. That's the team that I cover, and he didn't. And the thing I like about what I tried to comp people will say, think about Caleb Williams, but he wasn't a 5-star recruit. He was a no-star recruit. Yeah, but when you think of their games, it's the same. The only thing that'll frustrate you about him is he has this real calm demeanor, and that works. Except when you don't think he needs to be being calm, and then it looks like he's just being too lackadaisical. And that's going to drive some people crazy. But if he ever masters that, there's a little bit of a Joe Burrow factor there for me with the same type of demeanor. If he ever masters that and he can win with success, people won't get tired of it. I'll tell you what a lot of people are tired of already. They're tired of talking about Cleveland and their quarterback situation. But that's Cleveland's fault. 1, because they gave Deshaun Watson a bunch of money. 2, because they went and got Kenny Pickett. 3, because they went and pulled Joe Flacco out of the old folks' home again. 4, because they drafted Dylan Gabriel in round 3 and 5. They drafted Shedeur Sanders in round 5. If you don't think that's enough, listen to my man Spencer German here talk about minicamp.
Day 1 of rookie minicamp in the books here out of the Browns practice facility in Berea, and obviously it was all eyes on the quarterbacks. Dylan Gabriel, Shedeur Sanders sharing reps throughout the day. It was Dylan Gabriel who was up first, which was a big topic for Kevin Stefanski after practice. He said not to read into it. He said, frankly, it's not something that they're keeping track of right now, and that it could even change tomorrow. We'll see. But obviously this time of year in an open competition, that's going to be something we all keep our eyes on. But I thought both looked as advertised. What the scouting report says about them certainly proved true the first time they're out here in shoulder pads and a helmet.
All right, I got to stop, Spencer, because that was supposed to go on for like 2 minutes. But Kevin Stefanski said, if Spencer's so good, he'll make me start talking about something else. But I want to pause it where Stefanski said, "Oh, we ain't worried about that. That's people thinking about it too much. No, we ain't really looking at it. Are you kidding me? What are you talking about? You ain't worried about who gets the most reps and who goes first. You obviously thinking about it because the dude that you picked first got the reps first. And he got the choice of what jersey number he was going to wear, probably. Stefanski better make sure that he is transparent, because if he isn't, there's a mob of people waiting to jump all over them about their decision.
Yeah, and buddy, I mean, I kind of feel for him that he's got to answer questions about which quarterback during rookie mini camp went out there first. He should have found some undrafted guy and thrown him out there if they had another quarterback in camp. So it would have been like, well, I just wanted to see what the kid had since we didn't draft and want to give him an opportunity. Like, this is insane that there's anybody who even cares who went out there first during rookie mini camp. I mean, yeah, he's going to have to be pretty transparent, I think, as far as what their plan is. Because, again, I have no idea. I don't think anyone does. And they certainly don't seem as if they have a coherent plan as to how they're going to get to a quarterback for this season. I suppose having 5 maybe leads to 1. Well, we've always heard if you have 2, you don't have 1. And hell, I don't think they even have 1. And they have 5 in there. So I'm guessing Flacco is probably the starter. I don't know. I don't think Kenny Pickett is. And I certainly don't think Shador and Dylan Gabriel, I don't think either one of those guys right now is earmarked as being the starter. So Kevin's probably going to come out just for his own sake. I mean, he might be one of those guys who just doesn't care what the media has to say. But, Lord, you don't want to have just the whole crap storm of just people all constantly just pressing you on this whole rookie battle, if there's even a battle at all. Just come out there, say Flacco's the guy, and when Deshaun's healthy, he's our number 2. Like, that would be probably the best thing to do. And then you're questioning, like, all right, well, that 5, they're not going to have 3. They're not going to have all 5 of these guys on the initial 53-man roster. And I'm supposed that Deshaun's probably going to start the season on PUP. So then they're going to decide of the other 4, that being Pickett, Flacco, Gabriel, and Shador, who's going to make the team. And that's where it gets really interesting to see how that plays out. Like, is Kenny Pickett the lone man out here? Because if you look at just the way things are, it probably should be Shador because he's the 5th round pick, but I don't know.
And so people don't get something. Let me tell you something. What you do in college sets you up whether or not you're going to get a combine invite or one of those end of season invites to those all-star games, right? After that, what you do at those things determines whether you're going to get picked. When you get picked, that determines how much money you make, and how much money you make usually determines who goes first in the drill. After that, then if there's an open competition, there's open competition. But Kevin Stefanski can just easily say, look, we haven't necessarily gotten the quarterback position right. We took 2 stabs at it from 2 guys that we had rated pretty decently. We looked up, and the dude that we had rated way higher than the 5th round pick was still there. Mm-hmm. Having more than enough or having competition is good for us because we haven't gotten it right. So y'all can keep asking me those questions all you want to, but I ain't going to answer it. That's it. That's all you got to do. But this is the NFL, and like you said, sometimes things get insane, and people do the same things over and over, expecting a different result. But here's what we're going to do. The Matthew Stafford-led LA Rams expect a better result than the way it ended last year in Philadelphia. And Washington, they ended their season in Philadelphia too. They're expecting a better result. We'll talk about how much better in just a second here on Locked On NFL. All right, third and final segment here. 2 teams that everyone's looking forward to are Washington and Los Angeles. Los Angeles because, well, if you really watch the game, I thought they were going to beat Philly at the end of that game last year in Philly in the snow. So now they add Devontae Adams. They add a few more pieces in free agency. The biggest thing is they extended out Matthew Stafford, so he's going to be there for at least another year or 2. How he's going to be there is the question. Here's Locked On Rams.
So we finally got the details of Matthew Stafford's rework deal with the Rams. And now Matthew Stafford can make $84 million over the next 2 seasons as long as he's on the roster. So if he's on the roster, he's healthy, he plays the full 2 years, he's going to make $84 million. The hope is that he still has a couple of Super Bowl runs in him. You win another Lombardi trophy or 2, and then you ride off into the sunset as a future Hall of Famer, and you got that gold jacket, which I already think is cemented, but you further cement your status as one of the best quarterbacks ever with a couple of Super Bowls.
If you ask me why I'm sitting here laughing with my mouth open, it's because I knew exactly what was going to happen when my boy hooked up and said that Matthew Stafford was already submitted to be a Hall of Famer. And I was looking right down at the cue scene, and I saw Julian Council's eyes almost pop out of his head. All right, well, we're going to look.
What? A couple of Super Bowls or 2? What? I mean, My God. Okay, Matthew Stafford, good player, excellent quarterback, one of the best of all time. No, let's not do that. Let's not do that. Unless he wins the next 2 Super Bowls here and because I do think looking at that deal, he's their starter for the next 2 seasons. And I thought he played really well last year. There was a question about his elbow that was causing people to think, I think even last off season, whether he was going to even come back. And the way he played last year, where everyone on that offensive line seemingly went down at some point in time, and they were looking like a team that was headed towards a top 5 pick in the draft and not being right there on the cusp of going to the NFC title game. In that game, you saw against Philadelphia in the snow. I think he's good. I think that McVay offense has been everything that he wanted to be when they made the decision to move on from Jared Goff, who obviously has worked out well in Detroit as well. But I think you got him this year, next year, maybe a better quarterback draft. Possibly the Rams go and get their quarterback, then have him sit behind Matthew Stafford and learn the offense, and then take over in 2027. If we're talking about gold jackets and bust in Canton, he better win the MVP next season and also win the Super Bowl next season and win the Super Bowl the next year after that. I'm going to have to see 3 Super Bowls from Matthew Stafford and him being the catalyst for me to be like, yeah, that guy is a Hall of Famer. No, really good player, but he's not a Hall of Famer. What are we doing? That does not happen. You do not have to do that.
Yeah, so 2 championships for Eli. And the thing that people point to a lot is, okay, what about all the years they did make the playoffs? Right. And look at his numbers. Stafford, however, will have some better stats, way better stats, right? But it just, no matter how much he wins, it just doesn't feel like he's a Hall of Famer. It feels like a dude in the NBA that averages 24 points a game and nobody thinks he's the best player in the league. That's what it feels like. It feels like a dude that is 24, 5-5. And he's never a dream team. He's never mentioned it's Zach LaVine like. He's never mentioned as, so you can look at the numbers and then you can look how talented he is and go, yeah, but for some reason it just doesn't feel like it. And that's why I think he's saying a Super Bowl.
I mean, listen to this. He is a 2-time Pro Bowler, 1-time Super Bowl champ. 2-time Pro Bowlers going to the Hall of Fame? It's already solidified. I mean, do the Rams give out gold jackets for their Hall of Honor? Is that what he's talking about when he's saying gold jacket? Because certainly he's not talking about the Pro Football Hall of Fame in Canton, Ohio. So I'm looking at, Dan Fouts, a guy who is an excellent quarterback. He is a Hall of Famer. So many heartbreaks for the Chargers when he was the quarterback. That is a 6-time Pro Bowler, 2-time All-Pro. Matthew Stafford ain't going to be playing 5 more years in the NFL to even get to the 6 Pro Bowls. I don't know. I don't want to sound like a Matthew Stafford hater because I am not. I think this guy is awesome. Yeah. I just think it's ludicrous to believe that guy is going to the Hall of Fame at this point in time. In a couple of years, if he wins at a high level, plays at an All-Pro, Pro Bowl level, then certainly we can have the discussion. Do I think we'll have the discussion? Probably not. But man, right now, that's crazy to me. God bless him, though.
Yeah, listen to the other team that's trying to contend. It's not just Dallas looking at Philly in the NFC East. It's Washington, and they know it. Here's my man David Harrison talking about the Washington Commanders and their weekend at training camp.
Media day at Washington Commanders rookie minicamp in the books. This is David Harrison of the Locked On Commanders podcast. And coming out here, obviously all eyes are on draft picks like first-round offensive lineman Josh Connerly Jr., second-round cornerback Trey Amos. But where I really wanted to focus in was some of the lesser-known guys or lower-drafted guys. 7th-round pick running back DeCori Crosby-Merritt. Talked to him after the practice about losing the 11 final games of his college career due to what basically boils down to an accounting error within the NCAA, counting the games that he was able to play before landing in Arizona last year. The motivation to stay in shape, continue practicing with his Wildcat teammates on his way to the Shrine Bowl, where he stood out in the All-Star game, ended up earning offensive accolades in that game, which ultimately led him to his opportunity here with the Washington Commanders. He talked about wanting to be a competitor, staying professional, doing everything he needed to do to reach his goals and learn from that experience, not let that experience hold him back. Speaking of not letting anything hold him back, Gabe Taylor, safety out of Rice, defensive back, brother of the late, great Sean Taylor, Washington legend, spoke to media as well after his tryout practice here on Saturday. Talked about living up to his brother's memory, honoring his family, but also understanding that this is his job opportunity, his interview with the Washington Commanders.
Good story. Good story with Sean Taylor's little brother getting a shot up in Washington. I wish him the best, not only for himself, but for his family. But Washington is taking a little bit of a different approach. They know that they still have a lot of work to do. They know they have a very young team. Some of those young guys you mentioned in rookie minicamp that weren't really high draft picks might actually make this squad. I really like Washington. Washington, they took over last year and they didn't really try to do the whole let's win the fan base back first. They said, let's do what we have to do on the field and in our organization and our structure. And they happen to win some, right? So they haven't walked away from that. They don't sound like a team that think that they're one player away, one Devontae Adams away, or all we got to do is do this. They are starting over, but it's with the same attitude that they had last year that led them to have so much success.
Yeah, and I would just caution people heading into this season not to go overboard when it comes to Washington, because Philadelphia is not going anywhere. Dallas will be better this upcoming season. Maybe the Giants aren't going to be completely terrible. So there could be what people perceive as a step back, which may not truly be a step back just because of just how difficult that division is. And then, I mean, we're going to find out, I guess, what their dates of the teams are going to be playing are coming up here on Wednesday, but they're going to be playing, a second place schedule. So that's going to call for a little more difficulty than I believe what they were a last place schedule last year. That would have had to have been to be able to draft second overall in order to get Jaden Daniels. So that's something to monitor this upcoming season. Still like what Jaden Daniels is doing. Still love what the organization's doing overall with Josh Harris been able to turn around, hiring Adam Peters last year. I love what they got there with Dan. I just forgot his last name, Dan Quinn, and that team, like the direction that they're headed in. I just think it might be one of those things where, like, okay, last year they have a magical run, get to the AFC title game, and then this year maybe they kind of just barely miss out, but then that builds towards like a bigger 2026 to where like they're a true contender. Like that's kind of how I view maybe how things could play out there this season, but still think it'd be an exciting team and a team that will absolutely have a say in how things are going to play out in the NFC.
I guarantee you're going to be right. That NFC East, we used to call it NFC Least. It's going to be a lot of fun this off season. It's a lot of fun talking to you guys today, and thank you for making Locked On NFL your first listen. Your second listen should be Locked On NFL Scouting. Even though the draft is over, roster moves and news never stops. Host Kyle Krabs and Joe Marino will make you the most informed NFL fan this offseason. Find Locked On NFL Scouting on YouTube or wherever you listen to your podcast. And we will be here all week on Locked On Jaguars as well as Locked On Panthers. I will be back tomorrow for Locked On NFL in the afternoon here in the barbershop. We thank you for joining us for these 32 and a half minutes. We appreciate you. We'll see you next time here on Locked On NFL.